Forgive the echo. If you're new here, my name is Faiza and this is Caffeinated Nurse.
And it goes a little something like.
Today we're going to learn about the sinus rhythm and how you can easily interpret the ECG strips. The first thing that you're going to identify is the sinus rhythm. The sinus rhythm, as many of you know, it's the normal heart rhythm. We see the word sinus in any way, form, beta tachycardia, beta bradycardia. Just know that the rhythm is originating from the SA node, the sinoatrial node. It's the normal sinus rhythm. It has the P wave, QRS complex, and the T wave. Speaking of graph, there's usually the big square. Inside the big square, there are 5 small squares. Understanding how these small squares and big squares are interpreted, it's going to help you calculate the heart rate. It's also going to help you understand if these waves are in their normal or abnormal. The axis that goes like this is not the x-axis. This lower side is really the second. 1 big square is equal to 2 seconds. 1 big square is also the same thing as saying there are 5 small squares. There are 5 small squares present in 2 seconds. What about 1 small square? This one square. You're going to get 0.4 seconds. When you look at this normal sinus rhythm, you always find that the P wave is present, meaning that there is a contraction of the atrium. The QRS complex is present, meaning there is a contraction of the ventricles. And the T wave, as we say, 1 small square goes to 0.4 seconds. And you say that the QRS complex should not be more than 3 small squares. So in real sense, the QRS complex should not be more than 0.12 seconds. If it's more than 0.12 seconds, then it becomes a wide QRS complex, and that makes it an abnormal rhythm. When you're given a strip, you're told to calculate the heart rate. There are 2 rules or 2.5 rules that you can follow, and I'm going to teach you all of them. In a normal sinus rhythm, the heart rate should be regular. The first thing that you're going to do if you want to identify if the rhythm is regular or irregular is look at the distance between the consequent P wave. So from one P wave to the next, and from this P wave to the next P wave, if there is a regular distance, then you know that the heart rate is regular. If the distance from one P wave to another varies, it's not the same as the first one or the preceding one, know that heart rate is irregular. If you want to know the atrial heart rate, then you look at the P wave. If you want to know the ventricular heart rate, you look at the distance between this R to the next R. Normally, in a sinus rhythm, the atrial heart rate and the ventricular heart rate are usually the same. The normal atrial heart rate is usually 60 to 100 beats per minute. One strip, the whole strip is usually 10 seconds. So when you take these 10 seconds and multiply it by 6, it gives you 60 seconds. Also interpreted as 1 minute. When you are told to calculate or identify the atrial heart rate, calculate the number of P waves in that whole strip. For example, the number of P waves that you can identify in a certain strip that you have been given is 7 of them. So what you are going to do is multiply that 7 P waves by 6 and you get 42 beats per minute. You can see that the 42 beats per minute, you can already know that that's a bradycardia because it's less than 60 to 100 beats per minute. This method of multiplying the number of P waves by 6 is both suitable for a regular and an irregular heart rate. This is the method that I'm going to show you is suitable for a regular heart rate. So the second method is locate the P waves where the P wave starts along a decline of the big square. The second thing that you need to do is locate the next P wave. You count the number of big boxes between that P wave and the next P wave, okay? The number of big boxes is the value of X. So what you're going to do, you divide 300 by that number of big boxes. This 300 is a constant. On this other method, you don't have to locate the P waves that start on a decline. Just locate the P wave where it starts, count the number of small boxes, okay? These small boxes between that first P wave that you have identified and the next P wave. The total number of the small boxes that you're going to find, small boxes, is 1. This 1500 is also a constant. So you divide 1500 by that number of small boxes. And that's it. That's how you identify if the rate that have been presented to you is regular or irregular, and that's how you calculate the heart rate. Using the 300 divided by the number of big boxes, using 1500 divided by the number of small boxes, and also the number of P waves times 6. Now let's go into details to discuss the sinus rhythm. In the sinus rhythm, we have the PR interval. This is the distance between the Q wave and the R wave. It's measured from right at the beginning of the P wave to up to where the QRS complex is about to start. Keeping in mind that one small box in the graph represents 0.4 seconds, the normal distance of a PR interval should be 0.12 to 0.20 seconds. Always, and I say always, be a QRS complex right after the P wave. The QRS complex should not be more than 0.12 seconds. That's 3 small boxes. If you want to identify the QRS complex, you should write where the Q wave starts until where the S ends. Now, since we are at the QRS complex, if you ask to identify the ventricular heart rate, calculate the number of QRS complexes that you can see in the whole strip, and again multiply that by 6. And the second method is identify where the QRS complex is along a thick line of the big box. Identify the next QRS complex, and in between those complexes, you calculate the number of big boxes. You divide 300 by that number of big boxes. If you can't be able to do that, then count the small boxes between the one QRS complex to the next QRS complex and divide that number by that small box. The normal ventricular heart rate is also between 60 to 100 beats per minute, the same as the atrial heart rate. The other thing that we're going to discuss is the QT interval. The QT interval is measured from right where the QRS complex is starting, that's where the Q is, up to the end of the T wave. A normal QT interval should be between 0.3 seconds to 0.44 seconds. Right after the QRS complex, there should always be a T wave. The T wave should be rounded and well curved. The last thing that you should look on the sinus rhythm is the ST segment. The ST segment is measured right after the QRS complex ends to right about where the T wave is starting. One characteristic that you should always note about the ST segment is that it should be flat, following that line on the graph. And that's how you identify a normal sinus rhythm. I hope that this lesson was helpful. Until next time, see you. Bye.